Dave and Darren presenting for you now our top 5 things. These are the top 5 things that happen on the morning show, a morning show that we do on terrestrial radio, Planet 93.9. My name is Dave. His name is Darren. We thank you for downloading, subscribing, reviewing, all that you do for the show. Most importantly, of course, listening. Also want to thank our sponsor, which is
Nature's Treatment of Illinois. Yeah, they have 2 locations, Tech Drive in Milan and West Main Street in Galesburg. Now you can order online from the Galesburg location using Leafly at the website ntillinois.com. And if you are ordering for medicinal marijuana, you can, if you're doing that at the Milan location, you can also do that by going to the website ntillinois.com.
Let's get into it now with our number 1 segment.
Number one.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal in the news, and I think they'd rather not be. It's impossible for me to see the word Cinnamon Toast Crunch, whether it's in this story or on the shelves at the grocery store, and not sing the jingle in my head.
What's the jingle?
Cinnamon Toast Crunch. We're the cinnamon and sugar bakers. We're the cinnamon toast crunch tasters. Cinnamon Toast Crunch in the news because a guy is saying that he found shrimp tails in his Cinnamon Toast Crunch. That was not a prize. That wasn't supposed to be there. Generally, you don't have discarded shrimp tails in your Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Sounds like a kids' television show.
Shrimp tails. There was a cartoon when I was a kid called Shirt Tails, where, I'm not making this up, somebody back me up on this. The star of the show was an orangutan that sounded like Humphrey Bogart. Yeah.
Not bad.
They lived, I want to say they lived underground in Central Park. There was a panda, a monkey, and a mole. And they had shirts that had magical powers.
And they lived in the ground.
I believe they had an underground lair.
Not unlike Jesse Ventura.
He's going crazy about the banking system. Jensen Karp accusing General Mills of gaslighting him after he complained that his bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch had shrimp in it. Shrimp tails found in the cereal. The company offered to replace the box, but they also said it's impossible for there to be shrimp in your Cinnamon Toast Crunch. And that's when he things got kind of escalated here. Because he says, hey, I found these shrimp tails in my Cinnamon Toast Crunch. And they said to him, quote,
No, you didn't.
After further investigation with our team that closely examined the image, it appears to be an accumulation of the cinnamon sugar that sometimes can occur when ingredients aren't thoroughly blended. Now, I'm going to show you the picture here, and I would encourage you all to look up the picture of the Cinnamon Toast Crunch. That's not sugar. Those are shrimp tails. Like, that's clearly not just a glob of sugar. Here he is holding it in his hand. I mean, that's discarded. That's like somebody ate the shrimp and discarded the tail.
See, now, I don't go in for the sugary cereals.
Yeah.
I would prefer, quite frankly,
They might.
if I had the option,
Yeah.
a shrimp toast crunch. Something a little more savory.
Crustacean Toast Crunch. Yeah, he got mad. He said, these are cinnamon-coated shrimp tails, you weirdos. I wasn't that mad until you now tried to gaslight me.
Did he use the term weirdos?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes, quote, these are cinnamon-coated, all capital letters, shrimp tails, you weirdos. I wasn't all that mad until you tried to gaslight me. He then said on further investigation, there were other weird things in the Cinnamon Toast Crunch, including a piece of string and a couple of Cinnamon Toast Crunch squares that seemed to have black bits baked into them. People looked at that and said, well, those are rat droppings, a mouse or a rat. He then tweeted that the other bag in the family pack had been taped up and had what appeared to include dental floss in it.
You don't want that.
The people at General Mills are saying with confidence it did not occur at their facility. But if you find cereal from General Mills that appears to have been tampered with, you should contact them.
We're going to get the general involved, as a matter of fact.
This guy is...
General Mills?
This guy is a
Bully.
TV writer. He's a comedian. The guy's name is Jensen Karp.
Oh, everyone's a comedian.
Yeah. And then we find out later on, as this story goes more and more viral, he's married to the actress who played Topanga on Boy Meets World.
Nice.
Here he is in an interview with Slate.com. This is yesterday. He says, so we purchased the Cinnamon Toast Crunch on Saturday at the Costco in Woodland Hills, California. And I've been a huge fan of Cinnamon Toast Crunch ever since I was a kid. It's literally the only cereal I eat, even at 41.
You're a baby.
I have no shame in it, he says. I poured myself a bowl and ate that bowl. I have a 21-month-old, and normally I'll eat a second bowl and give him some. He thinks they're like cookies. I was getting my second bowl ready when something plopped out of it. I was like, what is that? At first, I thought it was a grouping of two cereal pieces together, but then I looked closer and I was like, this is a shrimp tail. There was nothing else it could be. There was no other option. And then when I looked in the bag, and another shrimp tail was chilling at the top of it, and they're sugar-coated and look processed. See, the fact that these things are so sugar-coated is where the turn is taken, because you could easily argue, all right, somebody was eating shrimp and stuffed it in the box there at the Costco. But they're so thoroughly cooked in the sugar, it had to have happened at the General Mills plant.
Now, excuse me all. I must get back to Topanga.
No. If you're married to Topanga, you got nothing to complain about with your cereal. Oh, looks like there's shrimp in my cereal. Oh, Topanga, honey.
Now, if you'll excuse me.
He says, I pushed it away and was like, yuck. I immediately sent a picture of it to my wife. I then went through the complaint form process.
And who's your wife again?
Topanga. I went through the complaint form process on General Mills, and I also tweeted the picture online. Slate says, well, now this has gone viral, and you're fighting with Cinnamon Toast Crunch. He says, quote, I love Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I don't want them to look stupid. I want to forever be cool with them. But the only reason this is viral is because they were so insane with their response. I would have dropped this immediately if Cinnamon Toast Crunch was like, hey, we're going to investigate and call the Costco and do all the things we need to protect people with shellfish allergies or people who buy Cinnamon Toast Crunch because it's kosher. We'll take care of this. Instead, I got the exact opposite. They were really nice on private message, but publicly they posted this really weird response where they said, hey, we investigated it. That's not a shrimp tail. It's an accumulation of sugar. And like, there's literally no world where people think it's not a shrimp tail. It's a shrimp tail. And then at that point, it just made me mad. And my friend called me and was like, dude, you've got to go through the rest of the bag. I never even thought to do that. And in the bag, I found a piece of string, what looks to be a pistachio nut that also went through the sugar coating process. And some of the squares have raised black spots on them. Also, some of the squares have like a red dye on them. And when my wife came home, she said, we have to look at the other bag. And the other bag has a piece of dental floss in it. And the bag looks like it was taped up.
You've got a taped up bag?
Yeah, that would be the first red flag, right? Slate says, what's your response to people who are saying this is all a publicity stunt? He says, I don't even have anything to promote. I mean, I have a podcast where I'd never talk about this or joke about it. This isn't something I necessarily want to be remembered for.
And who doesn't have a podcast?
This is not what I wanted to spend my day doing. I don't want to go to poison control.
There's only one thing that's going to calm me down. Topanga.
He says also the items are actually cooked onto the Cinnamon Toast Crunch squares. They've all been sugar-coated. I don't know how he would do this as a prank. Also, pranks should be funny, which this isn't. He makes a great point there. They ask, why not taste the shrimp tails for public confirmation? She says, no one is ever going to try the shrimp tails. I have a queasy stomach.
Yeah, but what about shrimp toast crunch?
He says he's not been able to eat since the incident. He's not feeling, he says, I feel very sick. Not physically, but very sick mentally. And then they ask him, will you ever eat Cinnamon Toast Crunch again? He says, no, I'll never eat it again, which is such a bummer because it's truly the only cereal I eat. This just sucks.
Yeah, you're off the cereal train, man.
That's right. Can't eat. The only cereal you eat is a 41-year-old boy.
If you can only eat one cereal, that there is the problem.
Jensen Karp, the husband of Boy Meets World star Danielle Fishel, says labs across the country are offering their service to figure out what exactly was in the box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. He tried a diagnostic lab yesterday, a hospital and emergency room, to test the black objects in his box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. They all said, we're not doing that. But a company out of New Jersey says, yeah, no, we'll take a look at it. So he's going to send it from California to this lab in New Jersey, and we'll see what happens.
I sure hope he doesn't mention this on the podcast.
Well, he says he wouldn't. He wouldn't mention
Well,
this
we're
on
going to
the
hold you
podcast.
to that.
Yeah, I would, dude, because this is what you're known for. You were known for being Topanga's real-life husband. Now you're the guy that claims to have found shrimp tails in your Cinnamon Toast Crunch. And again, when you look at these things, they are very much like the cinnamon sugar is baked in. So something weird happened. Now, it would also be, I think, telling if someone else were to have a similar experience and then they were able to see the lot numbers on the boxes were the same, right? What are the chances are if somebody's throwing shrimp tails into Cinnamon Toast Crunch that it's only one guy that gets it and it just happens to be Mr. Topanga who gets it? So either there's some tampering going on at the plant or this is a yumbo and this guy just wants to, rub it in your face that he's married to Topanga and you're not.
I would have to put some pen to paper to come up with those numbers for you.
All right, well,
Let me see what I could do.
I want you to know this. We will keep you posted.
Two.
Does Rhonda watch a lot of HGTV at your house?
No, all she watches anymore is a show called Snapped.
I'm sorry?
It's it's about people who've had enough and then they snap.
Is it a reality show or like a documentary series?
More of they're telling the story of what happened when someone snapped.
People get pushed to the brink and then
People have had enough and then they do something that is typically a crime.
that sounds potentially like
It's
an awesome
menacing
TV
is what
show.
it is.
You think she's trying
It's
to send
either-
you a message?
It's either that or NBC's Dateline where someone has killed somebody. And-
There's a lot of that. A lot of the murder shows. The HGTV, that's a home and garden television, right? They do home renovations 24/7 on that channel. And I know because my wife has it on quite a lot. Quite a lot. Her new show is I think it's called The Boise Boys. It's these two fellas who couldn't be more opposite who renovate homes in Boise, Idaho.
Haven't seen that one.
Well, you wouldn't. It wouldn't be something you would see unless HGTV was on at your
They
house
limit
all the
themselves to
time.
Boise, Idaho, though.
Well, that's where they live.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not going to go all around the country. They make a living flipping houses in Boise. And to be honest, I'll walk in and sometimes I'll sit and watch a couple minutes of it and I think, I could live in Boise. That looks nice. It looks like what they did with the tile in that bathroom there, you know? HGTV has a TV show called Rehab Addict Rescue. And the star of that show is in the news this morning because she got scammed. She got taken
By the network?
by a scammer.
Oh.
Nicole Curtis, the star of Rehab Addict Rescue, was scammed when she bought a home in Detroit from someone who was not the owner of the home. The Detroit Land Bank Authority has the title to the house. Nicole Curtis, the star of this HGTV show, says she paid $17,000 for the property back in 2017.
Okay, so this is a house that she was going to fix up and flip?
She did. She spent $60,000 in repairs and other costs. The bank is putting the house on the market for $40,000. She's filing a lawsuit saying, well, no, either I paid $17,000 for it, and then I put $60,000 into it. You can't sell it for $40,000, to which the bank is saying, we will.
We can, and we will, and we did.
It's our house.
Would you like to buy it? You could buy it back from us.
Well, that's something she could do, but she's saying, well, no, we'll do this in court, which seems like a dumb idea because you don't have the title. She filed a lawsuit seeking to keep the property or to have the bank reimburse her. Why would the bank reimburse her for getting scammed by someone that doesn't work at the bank? The mayor of Detroit, Mike Duggan, saying, I feel bad for Nicole. It appears she was scammed. It appears she paid somebody who didn't own the house and paid them to buy it. But the bank can't just legally give her the property. Why would they? That's not what banks do. Banks don't just give you things. I mean, a toaster if you open up a checking account, and that was 30 years ago.
40, 50.
The courts have already ruled that the bank is the owner of the house. He, the mayor of Detroit, is saying he really hopes that she'll stick with the project and hopes that they can figure something out.
This is no business model.
The
I can't lose this kind of money on every project.
She says, I didn't become so successful in business by being somebody who backs down. Right, but you're someone who buys things from people who can't sell it. How if you're somebody who lives in this realm? This is not the first home she's done this to. She has a TV show. How does she not understand how you can only buy houses from people that own the house? Like at some point,
You'd get better at that.
you go to a closing ceremony, and there's an exchange of paperwork and keys, and hands are shaken, and danishes are consumed.
Babies are kissed.
I'm just saying, I've done it, once or twice. You really have to make sure that you're buying the home from somebody who owns the home.
Makes for good TV, though.
Well, I don't know that it does, because I don't know that she wants the TV show to be about how she got taken. Welcome to HGTV's Rehab Addict. In this episode,
You see this contract you signed with the network? You are going to show everybody.
well, I am made to look foolish in this episode.
Oh, it's a two-parter.
The whole season.
The whole season. This is the whole arc of the entire season.
You didn't think it was strange that you bought the house from somebody and then you didn't have any paperwork that said it was that person's right to sell you the house? It's a blighted home, and she does a lot of really good work fixing up these homes in Detroit, but also maybe don't get scammed if you have a TV show. The bank is putting the house on the market for $40,000. Now, she paid $17,000 for it in 2017, and then dropped $60,000 in repairs.
Okay.
So she wants to make
By
least
my math,
at
that's
least
$77,000.
Right. She's like, I'm not putting another $40,000 into this. Well, you will if you want to be able to sell the house, because again, you did work on a home that wasn't yours. It's like when you do work in an apartment that's not yours, and then expect for them to give you a little deal on your rent.
I've got this up to $117,000 at this point.
I did not become somebody who's successful in business.
But what's the name
by
of the show
backing
again?
down. It's called Rehab Addict Rescue. Like people who just can't stop rehabbing, I guess.
Oh, okay. So these are not addicts that are rehabbing by
No, but that would be a better
by
show.
flipping houses, huh?
That would be a
You need to do something other than drugs.
that'd be a
So, do you like working on houses as opposed to doing the cocaine?
Yeah, we had this
Or
we had this room addition built by a bunch of crackheads. They got it done in like an hour and a half.
I was going to say we can build these houses, we can rehab these houses a lot quicker if you let us do the drugs.
She's saying, why did they let me occupy their property? That's not, sweetie, that's not on them, that's on you. I hope they do make this a thing where they do a special episode on how she got taken. And she's just going to throw a bunch of money at lawyers who are at the end of the day going to say, yeah, we don't have a case because this isn't your house to fix. Nicole Curtis from HGTV. She had to step away from the show a couple of years ago because she was burnt out, she says.
Who isn't? Think of us that don't even have our own HGTV shows and how burned out we are.
Number 3. 3.
Fascinating article on mental floss. These are 4 stories of people who were buried alive and got out.
No, you don't want that.
It seems like a silly thing to be afraid of, getting buried alive. But it happened a lot more back in the day. There have been a handful of stories recently of people was a couple of weeks ago, there was a story of somebody who they thought she was dead, and they were about to put her in the oven, and then she started moving.
That's so fast.
Yeah, that's not great. Nowadays, it's a lot easier to determine if someone is actually dead because of the sophisticated medical equipment that we have. But, back in the day, it wasn't as easy. There's a book called Buried Alive, The Terrifying History of Our Most Primal Fear. I can't say that being buried alive is something that I have ever thought of as a fear.
Now, who wrote
Frankly,
this?
I would welcome the opportunity to get a little rest.
Barbara Jane Mackle?
The author is Jan Bondison. Looked at some of the measures taken to guard against being buried alive. You've heard of the invention where there was like a bell that you would ring. They'd put a little string in the coffin, so if you were down there, you could ring it, and then they'd come and get you. That was something back in the day. And then there would be like a flag that they'd put on a tombstone, and there was a device where if they pushed a button in the coffin, the flag would go up to let you know, hey, they're not dead.
Like bang?
Something like that, yeah. That's the ringing of a bell. That's where the phrase "dead ringer" comes from. 4 stories here of people who were buried alive and made it out. Let's see, 1822. The story of a German shoemaker. This guy was 40 years old, laid to rest. But even at the start, there were questions like, is he really dead? The family said, no, he's dead, and he sure looked dead. But they couldn't detect any stench, and his body wasn't rigid. When you die, you get into that rigor mortis where you just kind of freeze up. They were able to move him around like no problem. And he didn't stink.
Yeah, that's something we got to get good at, is making sure someone's dead or not.
Right.
That we need to perfect.
The funeral went on as planned, but as the gravedigger was putting the last shovels full of dirt onto the grave, he heard a knocking coming from the coffin. So then the gravedigger becomes a gravedigger-upper, reverses the process, taking the earth off as quickly as possible, and they find the shoemaker moving inside the coffin. His arms were drawn upward. The body was not cold. And there was a attending physician there who opened up a vein and blood started flowing out of the guy, which is not something that happens when you're dead. Over the course of 3 days, resuscitation attempts were made, but it didn't come to any good. He was declared officially dead once and for all, and then they buried him a second time.
Well, that's weird.
Yeah. Oh, it gets weirder. 1915, the tale of South Carolinian Essie Dunbar. 1915, Essie Dunbar is 30 years old, suffers a fatal attack of epilepsy. At least that's what everyone thought. They declared her dead. Doctors put her body in a coffin, scheduled the funeral for the next day. Why the next day? Well, her sister lived out of town, and they wanted to make sure that the sister could come and pay her respects.
I have to get back.
Right. So this is 1915. You have a 30-year-old who died from a fatal attack of epilepsy. We're not going to bury her today. We'll wait till tomorrow because we want to give the sister time to come and say her goodbyes. Well, the sister was not in a hurry to get there. For whatever reason, she arrives She arrives just as the last bit of dirt's getting thrown on top of her sister's grave. And the sister's like, are you kidding me?
No way.
You buried her today instead of yesterday for me to come, and then you couldn't wait? So the sister...
No, I'm taking a look.
Yeah. The sister orders the body to be removed. After they've buried her, she's fully buried. She says, no, you're gonna dig her up, and I'm gonna say my goodbyes. You're gonna open up the coffin, and I'm gonna say my goodbyes.
Okay, but I'm getting time and a half for this.
The coffin lid was opened up. Essie sat up and smiled at everyone around her, went on to live for another 47 years.
Don't ever do this again.
What in the world? 1867. The story of Philomele Jontre, a 24-year-old French woman. She got the cholera.
How you say cholera?
Not long after, she was presumed dead. So a priest comes over to give the last sacraments. The body's put in a coffin, and 16 hours later, they put her 6 feet underground. This is again another story where they heard knocking against the coffin lid and then promptly start digging up rather than, leaving there. There was no breath apparent. So they lit a candle and put it under her nose. And that's when they could hear distinct rhythmical sounds in her chest.
That's when her nose caught on fire.
Her muscles started to contract. Her eyelids started to twitch. Didn't last long, though. She was officially pronounced dead the following day, and they buried her a second time.
Okay.
Then finally, there's the story of 19-year-old Frenchman Angelo Hayes, who, according to the author of this book, again, the book is called Buried Alive, The Terrifying History of Our Most Primal Fear. Frenchman Angelo Hayes, probably the most remarkable 20th century instance of premature burial. The year is 1937. Picture it, pussycat. Hayes wrecks his motorcycle. The impact throws him from the bike headfirst right into a brick
Right
wall.
into a coffin.
He goes from the motorcycle into a brick wall. His face was so disfigured that they wouldn't let his mom and dad view the body. They couldn't find a pulse, so they declared Angelo dead. 3 days later, he was buried. But because of an investigation that the local insurance company had, they had to exhume his body 2 days after the funeral. Much to the surprise of the people that were investigating the body, he was still warm. He was in a deep coma.
He's burning up, as a matter of fact.
And his body's diminished need for oxygen was what kept him alive. After numerous surgeries and some rehab, he recovered completely. In fact, he became a big celebrity over there in France. And in the 70s, he went on tour with a security coffin he invented, featuring thick upholstery, a toilet, a library, and a little mini fridge.
A library?
Yeah, you want to read a book while you're down there. That was 1937. It's the 70s, and he was going around showing everybody the coffin that he invented. In case it happens to you. A toilet, a food locker, a library, and lush upholstery.
And Wi-Fi. Way ahead of his time.
Yeah, well, in the 70s, that would be something else. You want to read more? The book again, Buried Alive, The Terrifying History of Our Most Primal Fear. Yeah, what I've done is I've invented a coffin where you have a toilet and a library. And I know what you're saying. That's ridiculous. They buried me alive for a couple of days in 37.
Don't tell me it's ridiculous.
Four.
Last night I had to run out quick to the grocery store to pick up a little something for the missus. And as I was there, I noticed in the dairy section of my local grocer, there was a young lady that had on a T-shirt. And the T-shirt read, "Last sale before the veil." And I couldn't figure out what the hell that meant. It was driving me crazy until I was halfway home and I realized,
One last crack at me before I get married.
yeah, it must have been some sort of bachelorette party T-shirt. I think that's what it was. Like everyone gets a T-shirt at the party, right?
The bachelorette party was happening at the dairy section in the...
Well, she was wearing the T-shirt, and I noticed it, and I thought, I don't know, what does that mean, last sale before the veil? I don't get it. It took me a lot longer than it should have to figure out what it was about. Because there's like an anchor on it, and I'm thinking, last sale before the... Is that like a Catalina mixer? What is that? What does that even mean? And this is how my stupid brain works. Like, I was the entire time trying to figure out, like, what does that mean? What's the message of that? Like, I didn't even put together veil and wedding until, again, as I mentioned,
how
I
is
was
veil
halfway.
spelled?
Well, veil like a wedding veil.
Okay,
not like,
well, there you go.
Look, I'm not telling you this story to say that I'm some sort of Columbo who figures things out right away.
What are you, Christopher Columbo?
Sometimes it takes me a while to piece things together. And I guess that makes sense that you would have a bachelorette party and then everyone would have matching shirts. It's been a while since I've had to deal with bachelorette parties.
But last sale.
Right. Last sale, like
Oh, a
nautical.
Sale. A nautical. Okay, so the sale was SAIL.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Because I was thinking the other.
She was available for purchase before she got married there in the milk section? No. Right by the cottage cheese?
Next to the milk jugs.
There's, again, it's been a while since I've had to deal with bachelorette parties. We've all been going through some stuff for the last year, so it's been a while since anyone has been anywhere where they invade the space that you're in with their hilarious, novelty items and such. So this T-shirt that must be something that young people do. They get shirts made for their bachelorette or even bachelor parties, I imagine. It seems weird that you would wear it on a Tuesday night, but...
It's clean.
Yeah, right on. In China, there's a city that is banning a newlywed practice. I wasn't aware this was a thing. A typical Chinese wedding celebration, the brides wear red over there when they get married.
Okay.
Because I think white means you're a hooer culturally over there. Red is what a traditional bride in China wears. A typical wedding in China, you've got a banquet where there's family and friends, and then they engage in binge drinking, right? Very much like our weddings.
Do they serve the banquet beer?
No, although I'm glad you mentioned that. They had, at Hy-Vee last night, I saw a case of this beer from Manitoba. It was a 35-pack for like $14. And I thought, Darren needs to be aware of this. It's made by Minhas up in Manitoba. 35 cans of beer. It's called, I want to say, Boxer beer. Have you had this? Oh, it looks horrible, but it looks like something you'd enjoy.
Well, it might end up being like that Montejo I had to choke down several years ago.
Montejo is the one that's made in Guatemala?
No, that's Monterey.
Okay,
Monterey is
Monterey's the Corona knockoff that's made in Guatemala.
That's right.
Okay. Because you need to save a little money on your knockoff Corona beers. So when you have a wedding in China, right? Everyone gets together. You've got a banquet, family and friends, and then there's binge drinking. So that just sounds like an awful lot like what we do here in the States. But they also play games there at the wedding. And depending on the newlyweds' luck, those games range from harmless fun to total humiliation. The wedding stunts are staged by guests before the bride leaves her home or after the banquet. And usually these stunts are filled with sexy time. Like, for example, one gimmick you do at a Chinese wedding is you ask the couple to get under a blanket and throw out all their clothes. Or another game that they do.
Now, are children invited to this sort of thing?
Well, it says family and friends. There's another traditional game they play where you make the bride eat a sausage while squatting under the groom's crotch. I don't know that your kids should be seeing that, but again, it's a different culture, so I'm not here to judge.
Is that the sort of thing you want to fill up on when you're going to have a...
Imagine if instead of cutting the cake, it was time. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and now it's time for her to eat the sausage. Couple issues with that. I don't know that I want to watch her eat it. That's not great.
No, just gnawing on it.
Oh, I don't like this game at all.
Gnawing on it like a rat?
No, thanks. No. Well, there's a Chinese city that is banning the wedding games. The city of Zhaoping in the northern province of Shandong said wedding guests will now be banned from stripping, tying up, or putting chains on the bride and groom. Guests are also banned from humiliating or sexually harassing the bride and bridesmaids. I guess it's very common over there to force bridesmaids to kiss each other against their will. That's monstrous. Other forbidden practices include applying or pouring foreign objects onto the body of the newlywed or making them do indecent performances. If you violate the rules, you'll be given administrative or criminal penalties.
And you don't want that in China.
They're saying this is a cultural shift where the young Chinese are saying, this is a little not cool. Like maybe this was okay for you, but I'm not going to be eating sausage out of my husband's lap. No thanks. Extreme cases of wedding hazing have made national headlines in
But
China.
your grandmother was so good at it. She still holds the record.
I'm not sure why the Chinese mother sounds like my mother. Wang, make her eat the sausage!
I took it down in 3 seconds. They called it the wedding day miracle.
Took it down in 3 seconds. In 2018, the friends of a 24-year-old groom in the southwestern province of Guizhou stripped him to his underwear and then poured ink all over him. The groom was then hit by a car as he was running away from his friends at his wedding.
Don't let him get away.
That's not great.
Get him.
Never mind.
You do anything you want to him on this day. Can you imagine, how people tap their glasses with their knife
Well, that's very...
have the...
Yes. Kiss for us. It's cute.
kiss? No, every time you bang on the glass, you got to down another sausage. It's like, boo. Boo. Had to be taken out on a stretcher.
Our wedding was a real sausage
Her
fest.
stomach pumped.
So when you clink on the glasses, she's got to eat a sausage or both of them do? Make him eat it like Lady and the Tramp. The wedding's over. You go to your room and she's just like, leave me alone. I'm so full of processed meat. Yeah, these wedding stunts tend to target women in regions with more traditional gender norms. The games played on groomsmen happen in places with more liberal gender norms in China. I just don't know that having your friends pour ink all over you after they strip you naked and then chasing you in the streets.
Hit him with the car.
Do not let Wayne get away. Ah, never mind.
It's our only chance. Today's the day.
Hey, buddy, though, congrats on your marriage.
Really, though. That's great.
What a blessing. Oh, man. Well, they're not doing that anymore, and that's probably for the better. Again, it's a culture that's not ours. There's a lot I don't understand. I don't want to sit here and judge the culture, but I will say I think this is messed up, and it needs to end. And weird.
Five.
Number 5. Managed to go an entire show without giving you any stories from Florida.
Until now.
Yeah, well, I mean, come on. Work smarter, not harder. You know what I'm saying? A Jacksonville, Florida mother charged with child abuse after she got into a fight with another student at a middle school. So she's the mom.
You want some of this?
She's the mom. She was arrested after a fight with a kid at the middle school. Edith Riddle was arrested by the school board police on Thursday.
There are school board police?
I had never heard of that. School board police, arrest this mom. School safety officer heard a teacher's frantic announcement over the school radio that there was a fight happening just outside the cafeteria on Thursday at 12:14 p.m. When the officer arrived at the location of the fight, he found Edith Riddle, 34 years old, involved in a physical fight with the victim. Riddle had just exited the school with her own daughter after a meeting with the vice principal on campus. Rather than leaving the campus directly, the daughter walked her way through the cafeteria to engage the victim in a fight. Riddle's daughter pushed the victim to the ground and threw some punches before mom also joined in punching the victim, who was laying on the ground. A witness said Riddle was also wearing boxing gloves.
Florida, but that's America's wing.
Yeah, I'd call that premeditated. I don't know much about premeditation,
There was a boxing glove attached to her left hand. According to the police report, Riddle had the boxing glove on her hand when she arrived at the school and had told the school that she couldn't take the glove off because it had been super glued to her wrist.
Why? I'd love to take this off. I can't. So whatever happens from here on is really not my fault.
You need to leave the school. If you show up for a meeting with the vice principal wearing a boxing glove, we're not doing the meeting today. You need to go and take that off. I can't.
This isn't my fault.
It's been super glued on. The kid that they were beating up suffered abrasions to her knees and forearms. Riddle and the victim not related, according to the arrest report. She was arrested with 1 count of child abuse with a personal special weapon. And that weapon, I guess, being the...
boxing glove.
Well, I can't take it off on account of how it's super glued on me. What do you want me to do? I mean,
Listen to this story. A mother showed up to her daughter's school wearing boxing gloves. Police arrested Edith Riddle after they say she got into a fight with another student at DuPont Middle School. The police report states that Riddle told school leaders the glove was super glued to her wrist and she couldn't remove it. The victim had bruises on her knees and her forearms.
I mean, what are you doing?
Listen, I was throwing nothing but straight right hands, man.
Is it all over, Rock?
I guess so.
I didn't think it'd be like this.
Well, that is today's installment of the top 5 things. Hope you enjoyed. Glad you're here for it. We'll do another one soon. Thanks also to Nature's Treatment of Illinois.
Nature's Treatment of Illinois has 2 locations, Tech Drive, Milan, West Main Street in Galesburg. Milan's open every day. Galesburg is open weekdays and Saturdays. The Milan store offers both medicinal and recreational. Galesburg is recreational only. Nature's Treatment offers a wide selection of products for recreational use, including flower, vapes, and edibles.
Until next time, hang loose, kooks.
You stay classy and safe, Quad Cities.
Come on, Quad Cities, represent. This is for the Quad Cities record spot. Davenport, yeah, we keeping it locked. Rock Island, come on, and it just don't stop. East Moline, yeah, they keeping it hot.
Okay, so I'll see you later, huh? I'll give you a call.